it's in this critical moment that Chinese states released this, what I would call a positional paper to further clearly state Chinese government's overall position on the Ukraine crisis in a comprehensive way. So this document mostly collects and rephrase some of the basic principles we have already seen over the past few months by Chinese government on the Ukrainian crisis, right? But it also introduced some new elements. For example, its emphasis on the necessity to prevent an overall nuclear crisis, and its emphasis on keeping industrial and the supply chain stable in this critical moments. I think that there is a real concern that further military conflicts and further arms race, as we see in the Ukrainian war, may make a real nuclear disaster very much possible. So I think it's time for all parties involved to try to prevent this worst case scenario from happening. And this position of preventing the worst case scenario is also a key part of China's Ukraine policy positional paper. This positional paper also makes it very, very clear and specifically highlight the necessity to end the war, end the conflict in order to save the global economy, global supply chain. And that, if that can be done, and then a positive outcome would benefit all countries in the world, particularly for, I would say, particularly for the global South, who's actually suffering indirectly from the Ukrainian crisis at a great loss.
We have always maintained the stance that all efforts to resolve the crisis peacefully should be encouraged and supported. China is willing to continue to work with the international community to play a constructive role in politically resolving the Ukrainian crisis on the basis of China's position paper on the political settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. I have no information on this.
Alustame pärgade panekut.
We have not seen any actual delivery of lethal aid, but what we have seen are signs and indications that China may be planning and considering to supply military aid to Russia, and China should not do that. because that will be to support an illegal war of aggression, breaching international law and violating the UN Charter. And China is a member of the UN Security Council, and they have a particular responsibility to protect the UN Charter, and this is a war aggression violating exactly that Charter. Then on the proposals and the points presented by China. So first of all, China doesn't have much credibility because they have not been able to condemn the illegal invasion of Ukraine. And they also signed, just days before the invasion, an agreement between President Xi and President Putin on limitless partnership with Russia.
Use microphone, which with my colleague will assist, and we have first ready there.
Yeah, so indeed the Chinese paper, I think you have to see the principles they shared. It's not a peace plan, but principles that they shared. You have to see them against a specific backdrop. And that is the backdrop that China has taken side by signing, for example, an unlimited friendship right before the invasion, Russia's invasion in Ukraine started. So we will look at the principles, of course, but we will look at them against the backdrop that China has taken sides.
Please.
Yes. Thank you, Tarmo Moiberg.
Today, Ukrainians are showing unprecedented courage and commitment in defending their country. The free world needs to show the same courage and support to Ukraine until the last Russian soldier has left Ukraine. Ukraine must win, and the aggressor must be pushed back. For this, we must also believe in Ukraine's victory. Ukraine needs enough weapons and ammunition to win the war. That is why I propose that EU member states jointly procure ammunition for Ukraine. During the pandemic, we were able to react quickly to jointly procure vaccines. Let us act quickly now and send more ammunition to Ukraine.
For public broadcasting questions.
Putin has failed to achieve a single one of his strategic goals. Instead of dividing the European Union, he finds us united and determined to stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes. Instead of dominating the global energy market, he has seen his main source of revenue slashed. Instead of wiping Ukraine from the map, he is confronted with a nation more vigorous than ever.
To all of you, actually, about China's position paper about Ukraine.
Russia is falling backwards towards an autarkic economy, cut away from the world. Our sanctions are eroding sharply its economic base, slashing any prospect to modernize it. We will continue to put pressure on Russia and on those supporting it on the battlefield.